So let's go into the most important example from an operational standpoint of what the 501c3 needs to be most aware of, and that's something I just referenced, and that is the prohibition against private inurement. And just a side note here, this prohibition against private inurement is evident for other types of exempt organizations other than charities. For example, this prohibition against private inurement is relevant for 501c4s, it's relevant for 501c6s, it's relevant for other types of exempt organizations also. So private inurement will arise when the charity undertakes a transaction with an insider that is not in the best interests of the charity. So what are examples, or it could be potential examples of private inurement? The most common type of private inurement arises in the compensation setting. So let's say I am the executive director, the top management person for a charity, and I receive a salary. If I am working 40 hours a week and my annual salary is $50,000, I don't think we have private inurement there. It's pretty darn obvious that my compensation there is not excessive, and because of that, it's not excessive. It's in the best interest of the charity to make that payment to me. Now let's tweak the facts a little bit, and I'll just make them extreme to illustrate the point. I am still the top management person for the charity. I am still working the 40-hour week, but now my compensation is $500,000 a year. And let's assume that the annual budget for this charity that I'm working for is $700,000. That sure starts to look like something that is unreasonable. And that being said, if it is deemed to be unreasonable, then that is private inurement, because this is a situation where the charity has entered into a transaction with an insider. I'm an insider because I'm the top management person for the entity, and it is a transaction, the payment of compensation for services rendered. That is certainly a transaction, and it's a transaction that is not in the best interests of the charitable organization, because paying me $500,000 and they're only bringing in $700,000, that probably is not in the best interest of the charity. So that is an example of private inurement. Very important to note here, there is no such thing as incidental or de minimis private inurement. If private inurement is found, technically the organization loses their tax exemption. So let's go back to a couple minutes ago when we were talking about the the organizational requirements of the tax-exempt organization. We said in their organizing documents there needs to be a provision that says no private inurement at all, and that means none. And so what the organization represented when they were first getting formed was that we will not undertake any sorts of private inurement transactions. And so that is why there is no incidental or de minimis amount of private inurement permitted. So private inurement exists. The penalty for that is loss of tax exemption.